They thought it would be easy. At a quiet gas station in the middle of nowhere, two officers confronted a black mother and her young daughter, assuming they were defenseless. No backup, no witnesses, just an easy stop. But they had no idea who was watching from a few feet away and who they were about to provoke. A calm figure stepped forward, silent but alert. Not loud, not aggressive, but every movement was precise, controlled, dangerous. This wasn't just a father. He was a highly skilled Delta Force commander, and these officers had just crossed a line they couldn't walk back from. What started as intimidation suddenly turned into a tense, high-stakes standoff. And the worst part? The officers refused to back down. Pride took over. What followed was a ruthless chase that risked tearing apart an innocent family, all because they picked the wrong target. Some people hide strength behind silence. Others train for war. Before we continue, tell us where in the world you're watching from in the comments and subscribe. Tomorrow's story might just shock you even more. The sun was just starting to dip, casting streaks of gold and pink across the sky as Marcus Johnson guided his SUV down the highway. The breeze coming through the windows was warm and sweet, the kind of evening that made you feel like everything was finally right. In the rearview mirror, Marcus caught a glimpse of his 8-year-old daughter Zoe clutching a stuffed bear, still buzzing from the family reunion. "That was the best day ever," Zoe said, bouncing in her seat. "Uncle James pushed me so high I nearly flew." Ava, sitting in the passenger seat, turned and smiled. "You almost touched the clouds, baby," Marcus laughed, reaching over to squeeze his wife's hand. "Your mom almost had a heart attack." "Did not," Ava smiled. "Maybe just a little, but hey, our girl's fearless." As the sky darkened, the fuel light blinked on. Up ahead, a lonely gas station lit up against the trees. The sign read, "Last stop for 30 miles." Marcus turned off the road. They pulled in. Only 2 other cars were there. Quiet. Seemed safe. Ava glanced at Marcus. "Bathroom break?" Zoe was already unbuckling. Marcus stepped out first, his instincts scanning the area. Old habits from a lifetime of service never really left him. As he filled the tank, Ava and Zoe made their way toward the store. Then it happened. A police cruiser slammed into the lot. No lights, no siren, just noise. The doors burst open, and 2 officers emerged, one tall and tense, the other cold and quiet. They didn't look curious. They looked ready. Marcus's posture stiffened. He didn't need a weapon to feel alert. Something was off. They went straight for Ava and Zoe. "Ma'am, we got a report of suspicious activity," the tall one said, standing in their path. "We just stopped for the restroom," Ava replied, steady but cautious. "You've been circling the lot," the officer said sharply, stepping in closer. Marcus watched Zoe tuck behind her mom, clutching the bear. He could see the fear building in her eyes. Ava kept calm. "You can check our GPS, or ask my husband. He's right there." But the officer didn't care. He grabbed Ava's arm. "Let go of me," Ava said, her voice cracking. "Quit resisting," he snapped, shoving her against the wall. "I'm not resisting. You're hurting me." Zoe started crying, reaching for her mom, but the second officer blocked her. Then came the voice that tore through the air. "Daddy, help!" Marcus's world slowed. His mind went still. His heart roared, but his training took over. He didn't shout. He didn't run. He moved. He stepped away from the gas pump. Calm, steady, but radiating the quiet power of a man trained for moments exactly like this. His voice didn't need to be loud. It was deep, controlled, unmistakably commanding. "Officers," he called, approaching with deliberate steps. "There's been a serious mistake." Officer Lewis turned, scowling at the interruption. "Back up. This doesn't concern you." But Marcus didn't flinch. He saw his wife pinned against a wall, his daughter frozen in fear, and every fiber of his being locked into focus. Officer Lewis lunged for Ava again. That's when Marcus spoke. One line, razor sharp. "Step away." His voice cut through the air like a warning shot. Officer Daniels turned, barking something, then shoved Marcus hard in the chest. It didn't budge him. It triggered him. Marcus didn't react with rage. He reacted like someone who had spent a lifetime in elite operations, reading movement, predicting chaos, and ending threats before they could grow. Daniels threw a punch, wide, sloppy. Marcus blocked it effortlessly, grabbed the man's arm, and twisted him into submission with surgical precision. A knee to the ground, and Daniels was down. A baton clicked behind him. Officer Lewis was readying it, but he never got to swing. Marcus turned, fast, controlled, one motion, one twist, and the baton hit the ground before Lewis could react. Ava's voice broke through, part relief, part fear. Then came Zoe's scream. It shattered the air, stabbing straight into Marcus's chest. But even with his pulse thundering and adrenaline pumping like wildfire, he didn't lose control. He didn't let it spiral. He raised his hands, not in surrender, but to show control. Every move slow, visible, rehearsed. Then, from inside his jacket, he pulled out his identification, one that shimmered under the station's harsh lights. Delta Force. You just laid hands on a decorated special operations officer, he said, his voice now ice cold. You want to explain that to your captain? Silence. Even the crickets stopped. Lewis stood frozen, lip bleeding. Daniel sat on the ground, grimacing, stunned. They didn't even need to look at the badge. The way Marcus had moved told them everything. The way he spoke made it crystal clear. This wasn't a man you push, not ever. There's been a misunderstanding, Lewis muttered, barely above a whisper. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. He turned to Ava, gently guiding her into his arms, shielding Zoe behind his frame. Ava's fingers gripped his sleeve, still trembling. Her lawyer's mind already noting every violation, every detail. Zoe leaned into her mother's coat, her tears silent now, her little bear dragging along the ground. Marcus wanted to hold her, wanted to promise her it was over. But not yet. Not here. They walked back to the SUV in tight formation, Marcus between them and the officers, every movement calculated, every sense alert. He helped Zoe into her seat, then Ava. Only then did he get behind the wheel. Out the windshield, he saw Lewis limping back to the cruiser, blood on his lip. Daniels followed behind, holding his shoulder, his earlier confidence gone. Marcus started the engine, reached for Ava's hand. That same wedding ring pressed against his palm, the same one he'd held an hour earlier in peace. Only now it meant something more. Survival, strength, and a line that should never have been crossed. Everyone okay? Marcus asked quietly, eyes flicking from Ava to Zoe in the mirror. We're okay, Ava whispered back, though her voice carried the weight of what had just happened. She wasn't sure if she was saying it for him or for herself. Behind them, in the shadows of the gas station, Officer Lewis sat in his cruiser, blood on his lip, rage in his eyes. As the SUV pulled away, he entered their license plate into the system, fists clenched with quiet fury. A moment later, the screen lit up with a flashing notice. Marcus Johnson, flagged, potential national security concern. Lewis's smirk returned. The pain didn't matter now. He had leverage. He picked up his radio. Dispatch, this is Officer Lewis. I need immediate support. Suspect vehicle, black SUV heading north on Palmer Road. Subject may be armed. Repeat, high alert. Back inside the SUV, Marcus was holding it together. Barely. Every instinct in his body screamed to accelerate, but he stayed locked on the speed limit. His grip on the steering wheel was tight, his eyes constantly checking the mirrors. Beside him, Ava squeezed his hand again, the same grip they'd used for years to ground each other when things felt out of control. Then from the back seat, Daddy? Zoe asked softly. Are those mean police people going to come after us? Marcus didn't get to answer. The rearview mirror exploded in red and blue. Sirens, lights, tires screeching. Not one car. 4. Hold on, he said firmly, his voice shifting into command mode. He turned off the main road, sharp but clean, threading the SUV through an empty parking lot with the precision of a trained driver. No panic, just control. Marcus, what's going on? Ava asked, breath catching. I don't know yet, he said, scanning exits. But this isn't random. Someone's after us. He grabbed his phone, hitting speed dial as he took another turn. The line connected. A gruff voice answered, "Carter. Ben, it's Marcus. I need help." Marcus continued weaving through side roads, keeping speed but staying just below the edge of suspicion. "There's something wrong. They're calling me a threat. Full mobilization. This wasn't just those two back at the station." Benjamin Carter's tone shifted immediately. "You're not wrong. We picked up some encrypted messages. They're targeting veterans who've spoken out, framing them as threats. Your name came up last week." Marcus went cold. "The interview," he muttered. "Last month, about racism in training. I knew it caused noise, but this? Deep enough to trigger federal alerts," Ben said. "You've got more than local officers after you now." Marcus looked back at Zoe, who was clutching her bear like a lifeline. Ava was already reaching to comfort her, the reality sinking in. "We need somewhere off the grid. We can't go home." "Cabin outside the city," Ben said. "Same one from the fishing trip last summer. You remember the way?" "Yeah. Sending you the gate codes now, and Marcus, they're working with State Patrol. Expect roadblocks." The call ended. Marcus glanced at Ava. Her expression was already shifting. Not fear, but focus. Strategy. Like the lawyer she was already calculating everything. "Get Zoe's tablet," Marcus said quickly. "Pull the battery. Same with our phones. They could be tracking us." Ava nodded, moving fast, fully in sync. Marcus veered onto rural back roads, far from the main traffic, drawing on every bit of training from years in the field. Not to fight, but to protect. In the back seat, Zoe finally asked, "Where are we going?" "To Uncle Ben's," Marcus said gently. "Remember where we fished last summer?" Zoe nodded, hugging her bear. "Is it because of the bad police?" Marcus met her gaze in the mirror. Her eyes were scared, but trusting. "Yes, baby," he said. "Some people are trying to hurt us, but I promise, I won't let them." Ava finished disabling the devices. Her voice was steady now, but serious. "Marcus, this isn't just about a traffic stop. This is bigger, and someone wanted it to go very, very wrong. If they can create charges that fast," Ava began. Marcus tightened his grip on the wheel. "I know. Ben says they're targeting veterans who speak out, using the system itself against us." The road narrowed. Streetlights disappeared. City glow faded behind them like a memory that no longer belonged. "They've turned me into a fugitive," he continued, "but they have no idea who they're dealing with." The SUV moved deeper into the forest, its headlights carving a path through the growing dark. Behind them was everything familiar, their home, their old life, slipping away. Ahead, uncertainty, but also a chance to regroup and resist. Then softly from the back seat, "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" Marcus looked at Ava. Her eyes held the same resolve he felt. "Yes, baby," he said gently. "We're together. That's what matters now." The gravel crunched under the tires as they pulled into a long, secluded driveway surrounded by towering pines. The cabin ahead was barely visible, blacked out, shielded from the sky. On the porch stood Benjamin Carter, flashlight in hand. He gave 2 quick flashes, the signal from their old team days. Marcus answered with a single blink of the headlights, then killed the engine. "Inside, now," Benjamin said, low and firm, eyes scanning the tree line. They moved fast, Zoe clinging to her bear, Ava holding her close. The cabin was simple, built for utility and safety, curtains drawn, cameras on. A police scanner hummed in the corner. On a desk, a small monitor displayed encrypted networks. "Satellite internet's live," Benjamin said. "No traceable lines. They can't follow you here." He pulled out a chair. Ava sat down at the terminal and immediately began typing. Marcus knelt beside Zoe. "Sweetheart, why don't you lay down? You've been so strong." "I'm not tired," she whispered. "I want to help." Ava turned from the screen and smiled softly. "The best way to help is to rest. We need your strength for tomorrow." Benjamin handed her a blanket. "This one got me through more nights than I can count. It's yours now." Zoe curled up on the couch, wrapped in the blanket, and despite her protests, Her eyes slowly closed. Ava's voice broke the silence. "Marcus, you need to see this." He leaned over her shoulder. The files on screen weren't just alarming, they were criminal. "They've created an entire fake history," Ava whispered. "Fake records, backdated documents, even false witness statements." "How could they build this so fast?" Marcus asked. "They didn't," Benjamin growled. "They were already working on it, waiting for a trigger." He pulled up encrypted messages he had intercepted, time-stamped weeks earlier. "The gas station incident just gave them cover," he said. "They needed an excuse. Now they're making their move." Ava, scanning line after line, shook her head. "It's sloppy. If you know what to look for, the dates don't align. The claims contradict your actual deployments. They rushed it." "They're hoping headlines will drown out facts," Marcus said bitterly. "Frame a black veteran, and the system fills in the blanks." Benjamin tapped a few keys, pulling up 3 more cases. Same pattern. All former officers, all clean records, all publicly spoke about bias in the military, and all suddenly labeled as threats. Ava sat up straighter. "We document everything. I'll contact civil rights groups, trusted journalists. We have to expose this before they bury us." "Carefully," Marcus warned. "They'll be watching official channels." From the couch came a small noise. Zoe stirred in her sleep, brow furrowed. Ava moved instantly, stroking her hair until she settled again. Benjamin watched. "She's strong, just like her parents." Marcus didn't look away. "She shouldn't have to be. We end this. Fast." Ava returned to the computer, already drafting motions, thinking like a lawyer at war. "We'll force this into the courts where it won't disappear. Jurisdiction is key. If we move fast, we can stay ahead." Just then, Benjamin's phone buzzed, a number only a few trusted people had. He read the message. His expression turned grim. "Marcus," he said quietly, "we've got a new problem. My contact at NSA just warned me. They're activating satellite tracking over this area by morning." Marcus didn't hesitate. "How wide?" 50-mile radius, Benjamin said, "centered on where you were last seen." Benjamin brought up a detailed satellite map. "They're not playing around, Marcus." Ava looked up sharply. "Can they track us here?" "Not yet," he replied. "The trees give us cover, and I've got signal scramblers running. But once they switch to infrared, it's only a matter of time. We can't stay more than 1 day." Marcus gave a single nod. "We move before sunrise, somewhere they'd never expect." He scanned the map with a practiced eye, mentally tracing routes. "I have a contact," Ava offered. "Civil rights attorney, out of state. She knows how to protect whistleblowers. She's helped people vanish, legally." Before they could discuss it further, a soft chime sounded from Benjamin's security system. All eyes turned to the monitors. On the outer camera, a deer. Just a deer. But the tension didn't ease. Marcus looked toward his sleeping daughter, his voice quiet but firm. "We're not just running. We're going to fight. Clear my name. Expose everything." As the first light of dawn painted the trees gold, the cabin was already in motion. Marcus packed fast, but nothing was rushed. Every item, from medical kits to tactical gear, had a purpose. Ava filled a backpack with clothing and essentials. Her hands shook slightly, but her focus never wavered. Benjamin came in, face grim. "They're starting a sweep. Patrols spotted on Route 16. They're building a perimeter." He handed Marcus a burner phone. "Clean and untraceable. All emergency contacts are preloaded." Zoe sat on the couch, still wrapped in the old army blanket. Her voice was soft but clear. "Are the bad police coming?" Ava paused, kneeling next to her. "We're leaving before they even get close. Remember how good Daddy is at hide and seek? That's what we're doing now." Marcus checked his watch. 5 minutes. "Ben, you know what to do." Benjamin nodded. "I'll throw them west. Should give you a full day head start." He tossed Marcus a set of keys. "Take the backup SUV, reinforced panels, special tires, hidden garage. Then that sound, low at first, then rising. Helicopter rotors, still distant, but closing." "Move now," Marcus said, voice low and locked. Ava grabbed Zoe's coat. Marcus hoisted the gear. Benjamin led them to the kitchen, then to the pantry, and opened a hidden door behind the shelves. A narrow concrete tunnel sloped underground, lit by dim emergency strips. Cold War bunker, Benjamin said, built by a survivalist, lucky for us. At the end of the tunnel, a camouflaged garage embedded in the hill. The SUV inside was matte blue, heavily tinted, engine ready. As Marcus loaded the bags, Ava buckled Zoe in. Benjamin handed over a tablet. Live satellite feed. Updates every 30 seconds. You'll see their movements. He gripped Marcus's arm. Stay alive. You too, Marcus replied. They embraced, then Marcus climbed in. The garage door rose silently. A narrow trail ahead, swallowed by trees. Marcus switched off the headlights and rolled forward in near darkness. Above, the helicopter circled. Down, he said sharply. Ava and Zoe ducked below the windows. Marcus edged them beneath thick cover. The searchlight scanned the main road, then passed over them, and kept going. Marcus turned off into an old trail barely visible. The SUV bounced over roots and forgotten ruts, but he never hesitated. From the back seat, Zoe whispered, How do you know where to go? Ava smiled faintly. Daddy memorized all the secret paths, like a map only he can see. Marcus checked the tablet. Red markers lit up the region, all patrol cars, closing in on Benjamin's cabin. But they weren't looking here, not on this abandoned logging trail, unused for decades. 20 minutes later, Marcus emerged onto a rural road and blended into traffic. His voice was quiet. You can sit up now, but stay low. Zoe sat up, still holding her bear, wide-eyed and silent. Ava kept her close. Where are we going now? Zoe asked. To a place no one's looking for, Marcus said. Somewhere safe. 2 hours later, they pulled into the broken parking lot of an old roadside motel. The sign barely hung on. Paradise Inn. Peeling paint, faded windows, long forgotten. But Marcus knew better. We used this for off-record training ops, he told Ava as they parked behind the building, completely hidden from the road. Ben and I kept it maintained. Inside the room, bare but secure. Heavy blackout curtains, thick walls, a steel-reinforced door. This wasn't comfort. This was survival. The motel wasn't much. Faded paint, creaky floors, but it had what they needed. Clear sight lines in all directions, multiple ways out, and just enough distance from the last known location to buy them time. Inside, Ava unpacked their limited supplies while Marcus performed a methodical sweep of the perimeter. Zoe wandered the room quietly, still hugging her stuffed bear like armor. Look what I found, baby, Ava said with a smile, pulling a deck of cards from her bag. Want to play Go Fish? Zoe nodded quickly, her shoulders relaxing just enough to let her sit cross-legged on the bed. Marcus watched them, heart heavy. The attempt at normalcy hurt more than the fear. It was a reminder of everything they were trying to hold on to. He sat at the small desk, eyes fixed on the tablet Benjamin had given him, watching police scanners, patrol movements, and digital chatter. They'd escaped the initial sweep, but this wasn't over, not even close. He grabbed the burner phone and typed a short message. Package safe. Begin countermeasures. Sent, deleted. Then he returned to watching the only thing that really mattered now, his family. Afternoon light filtered through the edges of the blackout curtains, falling in thin lines across the worn carpet. Marcus stepped outside briefly, circling the building's edge, checking doors, shadows, tree lines. Everything. Every second felt borrowed. Back inside, Ava sat on the bed, her laptop open. Even routed through multiple layers of encrypted security Benjamin had built, the motel Wi-Fi crawled. But she pushed through it, digging deep. Marcus, she called quietly. He re-entered and locked the door behind him. She tilted the screen toward him. Dozens of forum posts, veterans, stories, patterns. Look, Ava whispered, scrolling. Every one of them spoke out. Every one of them was targeted. James Thompson, Marine, spoke up about discrimination. 2 weeks later, arrested on false weapons charges. Charles Wilson, Air Force, organized a protest, suddenly accused of leaking classified info. Marcus leaned in, his jaw clenched. All of them are black. All had spotless records. And every charge quietly dropped after they agreed to stay silent. Ava's voice shook. These aren't just stories. Someone's cleaning up the trail. I had to dig through archive sites to even find this. Zoe sat by the window with her phone, quietly filming herself as she often did during road trips. "Dear diary," she whispered, "we're staying at a really old motel today. Mommy says it's part of a special adventure." Marcus pulled up more data on the tablet. One name kept surfacing: Lewis. "Officer Lewis is tied to 3 different departments in the last 2 years," Marcus said. Each one had complaints of excessive force, mostly targeting minorities. "That's not all," Ava added, opening a second file. "His military police record shows he was stationed at 2 of the same bases as the veterans being targeted. The connections are there. You just have to know where to look." "He's not acting alone," Marcus muttered. "This is coordinated. The false warrant against me, the timing, it's a playbook." Ava nodded. "They're using the system against anyone who challenges it." By the window, Zoe continued narrating to her phone. "The curtains here are really thick. Daddy says they're special. They keep us safe." Then she paused. "Oh, there's a car outside again. It's going slow, just like the black one before." Ava and Marcus froze. "Zoe, honey," Ava said gently, "come away from the window." "But I'm making my diary video." Marcus moved fast and quiet, parting the curtain just enough to see. A dark sedan. "Third time this hour, not the same one, same pattern." He kept his voice calm. "You can keep filming, sweetheart, but let's move over to the other bed. Better light." Zoe followed him without protest. Ava continued typing, fingers flying as she chased digital trails. "These veterans," she said, "they weren't just brave. They had influence. They spoke, and people listened." "Like Daddy?" Zoe asked, holding her phone. "Exactly like Daddy," Ava replied, forcing a smile. Marcus checked the burner again. A message from Benjamin flashed. "Police radio has gone silent. Too silent. They've moved to private channels." Ava read over his shoulder. "They're closing in, connecting the dots." Marcus looked at her. "Every case adds pressure. We're getting close to exposing something big." "And Lewis," Ava said quietly. "He's not just a bad cop. He's their enforcer. He's the one they send when someone needs to be silenced." Across the room, Zoe kept filming, capturing her parents deep in thought, unaware of the danger's full weight. "Mommy's really smart," she whispered to the camera. "She's trying to find out why the mean police are after us, and Daddy's watching the door, just like when we play hide and seek." Through the narrow slit in the curtain, another unfamiliar car crept past. Its tinted windows masked the occupants inside. From her spot near the window, Zoe's phone recorded the slow, silent pass, the vehicle barely registering in her young mind as anything more than just another passing car. "What do you see out there, baby?" Ava asked gently, keeping her tone calm but attentive. "Just more cars," Zoe answered. "They keep going in circles, like they're lost. Maybe they can't find their room either." Marcus and Ava locked eyes, the tension unspoken. Zoe's innocent remark confirmed everything they feared. They were being watched, and time was running out. Meanwhile, Zoe kept recording. Her little diary, meant to capture a family adventure, was quietly turning into a living document of something far more dangerous. Every shot, Ava researching, Marcus scanning the shadows, vehicles passing again and again. She was unknowingly filming their own evidence file. Marcus stood still at the window, his instincts honed to a razor's edge. The lot outside was quiet, too quiet, lit only by a single flickering lamp casting long, jagged shadows. Then he saw it. Movement, subtle, wrong. A shape that didn't belong. Then another, not casual walkers, not travelers, operatives. 3 figures moved low and fast. Weapons flashed in the moonlight. Their approach was tight, silent, but not silent enough for Marcus. He turned his head slightly, voice low and firm. "Ava, get Zoe behind the bed now." No hesitation. Ava grabbed Zoe's hand. "Time to play the quiet game, baby," she whispered. Zoe's eyes widened. She recognized that tone. This wasn't a drill. She pressed against her mother, hidden behind the bed frame, silent, still. Marcus crossed the room in a controlled blur. He positioned himself beside the door, breath slow, body coiled like a spring. Then, impact. The door exploded inward with a deafening crack. Splinters flew, hinges buckled, and 3 armed men in tactical gear stormed inside, weapons raised, movements sharp and well-trained. They weren't cops. They were professionals. But they weren't prepared for Marcus. The first man barely saw what hit him. A crushing strike to the throat sent him reeling, gasping for air. The second attacker landed a hit to Marcus's ribs, solid, brutal, but Marcus didn't slow. He spun, using the momentum to deliver a devastating elbow to the side of the man's head. "Daddy!" Zoe screamed, the fear in her voice cutting through the chaos. "Stay down!" Ava shouted, shielding her daughter with her own body. Marcus locked his arm around the first attacker's neck, a precise, practiced hold. Within seconds, the man collapsed, unconscious. But the second assailant recovered and lunged, this time straight for Ava. Wrong move. Marcus flew forward, slamming his shoulder into the man's torso, driving him into the wall with enough force to shake the room. The drywall cracked on impact. The attacker screamed as Marcus twisted his arm, bone snapping under controlled pressure. The third intruder hung back, baton in hand. He moved differently, slower, smarter. He was trained, but not trained enough. He swung with precision, one strike landing hard against Marcus's forearm, sending a shock of pain through the bone. Marcus stepped into the attack. Their eyes met, 1 second. Then Marcus's head smashed into the man's nose. Blood sprayed. The baton dropped. The attacker stumbled, dazed. The motel room was now a war zone. The sounds of struggle echoed through the stale air. Grunts, blows, boots dragging across carpet. Ava held Zoe close, trembling, watching her husband transform into the warrior she'd only seen glimpses of before. He moved like instinct, every motion refined by years of combat. They hadn't expected this. They expected fear, submission. They expected an easy job. Instead, they got Delta Force. The final attacker reached for a sidearm. Marcus didn't hesitate. A single strike to the solar plexus took the man's breath away. A sharp knee to the face followed, and the mercenary dropped, unmoving, onto the motel carpet. The room fell still. 3 attackers down, his family unharmed, and Marcus, battered but standing, already listening for the next threat. The room fell silent, but only for a moment. Marcus's breathing was controlled, but loud in the stillness. His ribs ached from the earlier hit, and his forearm throbbed where the baton had struck, already swelling, but his focus never wavered. His eyes scanned the door, the corners, the darkness, ready for more. "Are you both okay?" he asked, never turning away from the threat. "We're okay," Ava replied, voice shaking but steady. Her arms were wrapped tightly around Zoe, who was silent, frozen in her mother's embrace. Marcus crouched beside the unconscious attackers, retrieving weapons, searching for clues. Their gear was high-end. Their movements had been coordinated. These weren't random criminals. They were professionals, probably former military. The real question was, who had hired them? Then more sounds. Gravel crunching, voices, low, clipped commands. More figures, moving around their parked vehicle with practiced coordination. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Incoming," he said calmly. But inside, his mind was already running dozens of scenarios. He spotted a folding chair propped against the wall and grabbed it without hesitation, testing its weight. Ava instinctively pulled Zoe closer, understanding. This was the moment they had trained for, but never wanted to face. "When I say move," Marcus said, voice low but firm, "you run, straight to the car. Don't stop. Don't look back." Zoe's fingers clutched Ava's shirt, her knuckles white. She was scared, but trying to be brave. Marcus took one last breath. Click, click. Outside, the sounds of radio chatter and hand signals grew closer. Now, the chair crashed through the back window in a burst of shattered glass. The explosion of noise was deafening, but intentional. A distraction, an opening. Ava moved fast, lifting Zoe into her arms and diving through the broken frame. Glass cracked beneath their feet as they bolted toward the car. Inside, Marcus dropped to one knee, grabbing a sidearm from the floor. Magazine check. 8 rounds. Enough, if he made them count. The first attacker rounded the building. Marcus fired. 2 shots. Center mass. The man dropped without firing a single round. A second figure opened up with a burst, bullets ripping through the wall just above Marcus's head. "Get down!" Marcus shouted, returning fire with sharp, efficient shots. Every bullet meant something. The second gunman went down, wounded but alive. Ava reached the car. Hands shaking, she fumbled for the keys as she shielded Zoe's head with her arm. The engine roared. More shadows emerged behind them. Gunfire erupted again, a storm of bullets tearing into the car, the motel, the night. Marcus leapt from the window, landing hard and sprinting in a broken zigzag pattern, the kind meant to keep sharpshooters guessing. He fired short bursts, not aiming to kill, just to suppress, to buy seconds. Seconds were all they needed. A massive pickup truck blocked the exit, its engine already running, waiting to trap them in. Marcus dove into the driver's seat, slamming the car into reverse with the door still open. "Hold on!" The tires screeched, and the rear of the vehicle slammed into a rusted chain-link fence. Metal tore, wood cracked, and then freedom, just enough space to squeeze through. Suddenly, a masked figure appeared on the hood, weapon raised. Marcus didn't blink. The accelerator hit the floor. The car surged forward, and the attacker was thrown off like a rag doll, hitting the pavement hard. Another volley of bullets slammed into the trunk. Glass shattered. The rear window exploded. Zoe cried out, pressed flat against the floor, Ava shielding her with her entire body. Marcus swerved wildly, throwing off their aim. He took a hard turn onto a dark side road, heart pounding, blood running from his forearm. "Anyone hurt?" he asked, voice tight. "We're okay," Ava said quickly, her arm still around Zoe. "Scared, but safe." "I'm being brave, Daddy," came Zoe's small voice. "You're doing amazing," Marcus said, checking the rearview mirror again and again. "Just a little longer, baby. Stay down." They drove through the night, weaving through back roads, taking random turns to shake pursuit. Marcus's hands gripped the wheel like a lifeline. His whole body hurt. His ribs felt like fire, but he didn't slow down. Hours passed. Finally, they reached it, a place Benjamin had told him about long ago, an abandoned farmhouse on private land. It looked like it had been forgotten for decades, its roof sagging, paint peeling, one shutter barely hanging on. But Marcus knew better. This wasn't just a ruin. It was an old safe house, built by men like him for moments like this. Paint peeled from the weather-worn walls as they stumbled through the front door of the abandoned farmhouse. Exhaustion hit them like a wave. Ava's blouse was torn, stained with blood and dirt. Zoe's cheeks were streaked with tears, her body still trembling from everything they had just survived. Marcus was hurting, his ribs, his arm, but he couldn't afford to show it. He forced himself to clear every room, every window, making sure they were alone. Only when he was certain did he finally slide down against the wall, pulling his family close. Outside, the sky was beginning to shift, the first soft colors of morning rising behind the trees. But Marcus didn't rest. His eyes stayed locked on the tree line, the open fields beyond, always scanning, always ready. Later, as the first rays of light pushed through dusty glass, Marcus sat alone at a worn-out table, burner phone pressed to his ear. In the next room, Ava and Zoe were finally asleep, drained from the chaos of the night before. "These weren't cops, Benjamin," Marcus said quietly. "They moved like military. Someone's paying for private contractors." Benjamin's gravelly voice came through clear. "I've been digging. Lewis has ties to a group called Blackstone Solutions. On paper, they do corporate security. Off the record, they take dirty contracts, and they don't ask questions." Marcus leaned forward. "Is there a trail?" "Better. They've got a base. Industrial district, edge of town. Old warehouse, locked down tight, surveillance, guards, but there's a secure room, heavy protection. Looks like they're hiding something big." Evidence, Marcus muttered. If they're coordinating this, they need records, files, videos, leverage. Exactly, Benjamin said. If we can get inside that room, we might have everything. Ava appeared in the doorway, notepad in hand. She hadn't rested much, if at all. Her eyes were tired but sharp, focused. She laid her notes out on the table. I've connected it, she said. This isn't just Lewis acting on his own. It's a full system, targeting black veterans who speak out. They fake threats, label them dangerous, destroy their credibility. Marcus scanned the web she had drawn, names, timelines, headlines, charges, all linked. How many? At least 12 in the past year, she said. All honored, all suddenly painted as threats after going public with complaints of profiling or abuse. This is deliberate, Marcus said, designed to silence. Benjamin's voice returned through the speaker. If we don't get the files from Blackstone's secure room, we've got no case. It's your word against theirs. Marcus nodded. Tell me about security. 2-man patrols on a loop. Entry points use badge access. Interior has blind spots, already mapped. That secure room? Biometric locks, fingerprint and retina. Can we break in? We don't have to, Benjamin replied. One of their shift supervisors has serious debt. We've got his credentials. Ava touched Marcus's arm. This is dangerous. If they catch you, they won't, he said, covering her hand with his. Benjamin and I have handled tougher with less prep. This is what we were trained for. He stood, checking gear one last time. Benjamin had stashed fresh supplies nearby, clean clothes, untraceable weapons, med kits, everything they'd need. I hate leaving you both, Marcus said, voice low. We'll be safer here, Ava said. If all 3 of us move, we'll draw attention. You and Benjamin, you can do this. Just, her voice caught, just come back. He pulled her close, always. A quiet voice behind them. Daddy? Marcus turned. Zoe stood there in the hallway, her stuffed rabbit in her arms. He knelt down. Hey, baby girl, I have to go for a little while. Uncle Benjamin and I, we need to stop the bad people. But I promise, I'll come back. Her bottom lip trembled. Will they come back while you're gone? No, sweetheart. Mommy's got everything she needs to keep you safe, and I'm going to bring proof to show the truth. Zoe held out her rabbit. Take Mr. Hoppy. He's brave. He'll protect you. Marcus blinked hard. He took the small toy and gently tucked it into his vest. Thank you. He'll be right here with me. Benjamin's truck rumbled up the old dirt road. Marcus met him outside, already geared up. Weapons, tools, communications, all secured. Our window is tight, Benjamin said as Marcus climbed in. Guard change hits at 0300. That's when we move on the secure room. As they drove away, Marcus watched the farmhouse shrink in the mirror. Ava and Zoe safe, hidden. Leaving felt like tearing something out of his chest. They'll be okay, Benjamin said. Ava's smart. She knows how to disappear. Let's focus on what we need to end this. Marcus exhaled slowly, eyes fixed on the horizon. Right, let's finish this. He opened Benjamin's file again, eyes scanning every detail of the facility, every door, every camera, every blind spot. Walk me through the entry points again, Marcus said, eyes fixed ahead as Benjamin's truck rolled quietly through the back roads. His hand brushed over the stuffed rabbit tucked into his vest, Zoe's last gesture before he left. He'd made her a promise. Now he just had to live long enough to keep it. They pulled off the main road, half a mile from their target, Officer Lewis's house. It was 4:15 a.m. Perfect. Security's basic, Benjamin muttered, scrolling through a digital blueprint on his tablet. Motion sensors, contact alarms, backup battery, all stuff we've dealt with before. Marcus double-checked his gear. Where's the safe? Home office. Behind a painting, Benjamin said with a scoff. Classic move. Cop thinks he's smarter than he is. Intel says he keeps physical backups, insurance in case his people turn on him. They moved like shadows, slipping through the quiet suburban neighborhood, each step planned and silent. Marcus's training took over. Sight lines, blind spots, escape routes, all calculated instantly. The house was dark, No patrol car in the driveway. He's on night shifts this week, Benjamin confirmed. Wife's out of town. Perfect. Marcus took the rear while Benjamin disabled the system. The lock didn't stand a chance. Within seconds, they were inside, the air stale with the scent of cheap coffee and old smoke. Family photos lined the hallway. Awards, smiles, a man playing the role of community hero. Marcus clenched his jaw. He knew what this man had really done. The office door was locked, but barely. Benjamin popped it open in moments. There it was, a bland landscape painting. Behind it, a keypad safe. Benjamin snorted. He used his badge number. Click. The safe opened. Inside, files, thumb drives, photos, and one thick folder. Marcus flipped it open and froze. Names, timelines, forged documents, payment ledgers, everything. This is it, he whispered. Then, outside, a car door slammed. They both stopped cold. Benjamin checked his feet. Patrol car just pulled up. Lewis? Marcus asked. He wasn't supposed to be off shift yet. Footsteps crunched on the porch. Marcus shoved everything into his pack. Keys jingled. Not yet, he whispered. Back door's clear. They crept toward the rear exit as Lewis's voice echoed inside. He was on the phone, distracted. Yeah, system pinged something. Probably nothing, but I'm checking it out. They slipped out just as the stairs creaked under Lewis's boots. Marcus eased the door shut, praying it wouldn't click too loud. Snap. Someone's been here, Lewis shouted. Call it in. They ran, not toward the truck, too obvious. Instead, they cut through backyards, hopping fences with practiced precision. Sirens rose behind them. Lewis's shouts faded as they dipped into a drainage ditch, staying low and fast. The pack on Marcus's back felt like it weighed 100 pounds, but it held the truth, and he'd die before letting it go. This way, Benjamin hissed, cutting through a fence and out onto a side street. An old delivery van sat waiting, engine running. They'll be watching for my truck, Benjamin said, sliding into the driver's seat. Marcus jumped in beside him, catching his breath as the van rolled calmly away from the scene. No tail yet, Benjamin muttered. Sirens screamed behind them, converging on Lewis's home. They were already gone. That was close, Marcus said, opening the pack again, but everything's here. Dozens of names, financial links, communication records, a full map of a coordinated system designed to dismantle the reputations of outspoken black veterans, one by one. Memo on targeting protocols, Marcus said, holding up one document. They specifically looked for decorated service members, clean records, respected, then hit them with charges just believable enough to ruin them. Classic setup, Benjamin replied. Create a label, and people stop listening. But they made one mistake, Marcus added, staring at the page. They picked the wrong guy. Benjamin gave a tight, grim smile. Delta Force. And friends who don't walk away. The sky had shifted, dawn breaking slowly over the horizon as the farmhouse came into view. Marcus exhaled at the sight, safe for now. But in the back of his mind, he already knew the mission wasn't over. It was just beginning. Ava and Zoe were waiting inside when Marcus returned. The farmhouse, though weathered and quiet, felt like the edge of a storm. Marcus checked his pack once more. Every file, every photo, every shred of proof exposing the network behind the lies. It wasn't just about clearing his name anymore. It was about justice. You ready to take this public? Benjamin asked as they pulled into the drive. Marcus gave a sharp nod. It's time to show the world who the real threats are. Midday sunlight streamed through the dusty windows as Marcus and Ava sat shoulder to shoulder, hunched over a laptop. Exhaustion weighed on them, but what they were about to do surged with purpose. On the couch, Zoe clutched her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide but hopeful. The live stream's ready, Ava said, fingers poised on the keyboard. Despite everything, her voice held that lawyer's calm, her spine straight, her heart racing. Once we press go, there's no turning back. Marcus spread the evidence out across the table. Documents, files, photos, arranged with precision. They tried to erase us. Let's show the world who they really are. Benjamin stood by the window, eyes scanning the tree line. Signal's strong. Let's make it count. Ava launched the stream. 3, 2, 1. The red light blinked on. Her face filled the screen, determined, tired, unshaken. My name is Ava Johnson. I'm a civil rights attorney. What I'm about to show you reveals a campaign of abuse, cover-ups, and coordinated attacks against black veterans who dared to speak the truth. Marcus stepped into frame, calm, composed, commanding. I'm Commander Marcus Johnson, Delta Force. I was branded a threat for speaking out against racism in law enforcement. What you'll see today proves this was never about security. It was about silence. They took turns, document by document. Bribery trails, internal memos, forged charges, surveillance images linking Officer Lewis directly to corrupt officials. Ava's voice never cracked. Marcus didn't flinch. They laid it all bare. The internet responded instantly. Views skyrocketed, hashtags erupted, news outlets cut to the feed live. People didn't just watch, they acted. Look, Benjamin called from the window. They're gathering downtown. It's already spreading. Zoe bounced with joy. We did it! The bad people can't hide anymore. Tears welled in Ava's eyes as the chat flooded with support. They're listening, she whispered. They finally believe us. Marcus reached for her, pulling his family close. It's almost over. Once this reaches federal hands, boom! The windows shattered. Flashbangs exploded. The room filled with smoke, light, chaos, deafening noise, screams. Zoe! Ava cried, diving toward the couch. Boots thundered through the house. Marcus grabbed Ava and dragged her behind the kitchen counter as bullets ripped through the air above them. Benjamin fired back from the corner window, buying time. The laptop! Ava gasped. Already uploaded! Benjamin shouted. They can't stop it now! Through the haze, Marcus could see shapes, shadows moving with practiced precision. He recognized the way they moved. This wasn't standard police. This was Lewis's private response unit. Then a voice. Smug, cold, Lewis stepped through the smoke. And he wasn't alone. He held Zoe by the arm, his gun pressed to her head. Looking for something? He sneered. The entire room froze. Daddy, Zoe whimpered, tears streaking her face. Let her go, Marcus growled, his voice low and lethal. She's a child. A child? Lewis barked a laugh. Number she's insurance. Ava clutched Marcus's arm, shaking. Please, she's just a little girl. That depends on you, Lewis said coldly. Delete the footage, every copy. You're too late, Benjamin called out. It's gone global. You can't bury it now. Lewis didn't blink. Then the world can watch what happens next. He began backing toward the exit, dragging Zoe with him. Try to follow, he warned. Try to stop me. She won't make it out. Zoe cried out, Mommy, Daddy! Marcus moved an inch. Just one. But Lewis pressed the gun harder into her temple. Lewis snapped. Stay right there, Commander. That's an order. Ava collapsed, sobbing. Marcus caught her, holding her up as Zoe was pulled farther away. You can't do this, Benjamin shouted. There are no more lines, Lewis snarled. You crossed them when you went public. They watched, helpless, as Lewis disappeared through the doorway. Zoe clutched tight in his grip. His team provided cover, weapons trained on the family. Say goodbye, Lewis taunted. Zoe's voice cracked. I want to stay with Mommy and Daddy. The sound of engines roaring, tires screeching on gravel, doors slamming. Then silence. Devastation hung in the air like smoke, a silence so heavy it felt alive. Ava collapsed, her screams muffled against Marcus's chest. He held her tightly, his own tears falling, helpless to stop them. Their moment of justice had turned to horror in seconds. Their daughter, stolen by a man who wore a badge like a weapon. We'll find her, Marcus whispered through clenched teeth. No matter what it takes. But Ava clung to him as if the ground beneath her had vanished. And for the first time in all his years of service, Marcus felt powerless. The farmhouse was still, broken only by Ava's quiet sobbing. Marcus stared into the middle distance, his mind battling between instinct and reason. Every part of him wanted to run, to storm into the night, but he knew that would only risk Zoe's life. We need to stay sharp, he finally said, forcing control into his voice. Right now. Right this second. Ava wiped her face with shaking hands. Her courtroom instincts clicked back into place. Crisis mode. You're right. We have to outthink him. Benjamin returned, scanning the property one last time. No more units nearby. They're gone. But they left us alive for a reason. Lewis wants leverage, Marcus said, already sketching out possibilities on a scrap of paper. Psychological warfare. He started this at the gas station. That's where he'll want to finish it. Poetic ending. He won't come alone, Benjamin warned. He'll have backup. His whole corrupt crew. Good, Marcus said, voice hardening. That means they'll all be in one place when we end this. Ava had already moved to the laptop, miraculously still intact. Her fingers flew over the keys, eyes scanning line after line of files. Wait, she said. Before we move, we need protection. We already uploaded the evidence, Marcus said. Not all of it, Ava replied. I kept the most damning pieces offline, as leverage. She pulled up recordings, Lewis speaking openly about bribery, footage of him giving orders to target other veterans, financial records tracking illegal payments to off-the-books security teams. This is insurance, she said. We package this, and we send it. FBI, journalists, congressmen, everyone, with a message. If we don't check in within 1 hour, it goes live. Benjamin nodded, impressed. Mutually assured destruction. Smart. Ava assembled a distribution list. Trusted agents, reporters she'd worked with, government officials who'd fought against corruption. One by one, she added the names. If we don't make it back, she said softly, they'll still face the consequences. Marcus watched her, pride burning through his fear. He won't know what we've held back. He'll have to assume the worst. Exactly, Ava said. He's dangerous, but he's not stupid. She typed the final line. If no check-in within 60 minutes, release all files. Her finger hovered, then clicked. Done, she said. Now we have leverage. Marcus turned back to the table. The gas station layout. 3 sniper positions, multiple approaches. We go in clean. No visible weapons. He'll expect that, Ava warned. You can't risk... I am the weapon, Marcus said calmly. 20 years of close-quarters training. He won't see me coming. Benjamin checked his watch. Timer's running. Ava grabbed her recorder, her phone, her tools of truth. Marcus checked the farmhouse one last time, eyes landing on every item they'd need. Ready? He asked her. Ava nodded, standing tall. Let's bring our daughter home. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the floor. Time was slipping away. She's smart, Ava said suddenly at the doorway. Like you. She'll keep her head. She's brave, Marcus replied, squeezing her hand. Like you. And she knows we're coming. Benjamin stood at the window, watching them go. Go get your daughter, he said. I'll monitor the release timers. 1 hour. The air outside had cooled. Every breath felt heavier. Their car still sat where it had been during the raid, untouched, waiting. Marcus opened Ava's door first. Protect her, even now. We've faced broken systems before, Ava said as she climbed in. In courtrooms, Marcus replied, starting the engine, and combat zones. This time, it was personal. They had taken their daughter. As the car pulled away from the battered farmhouse, Marcus and Ava drove in silence, the weight of what was coming pressing down like gravity. The evidence was secured, distributed, untouchable, a digital sword suspended above every person involved. All that remained now was the rescue. The gas station appeared ahead, the place where their nightmare had begun. But this time, they weren't victims. They were ready. The evening light cast long shadows across the cracked pavement as their car rolled into position. The buzzing overhead fluorescents flickered, casting uneasy pools of light surrounded by deep pockets of darkness. Marcus scanned the lot with trained precision, every corner, every possible threat. Then he saw her, Zoe, standing still, brave, scared, unbroken. And behind her, Officer Lewis, arms crossed, gun holstered, a smirk curling his lips. Marcus clenched his fists as he stepped out. His body ached to charge forward, but his mind, trained, focused, held him in check. Stay calm, he whispered to Ava. Stick to the plan. She gave a small nod, brushing his arm gently, a silent reminder. We do this together. They approached slowly, 20 feet, close enough to read Lewis's expression, far enough to keep Zoe safe, for now. Let her go, Lewis, Marcus called out, his voice calm but commanding. This is between you and me. Lewis tightened his grip on Zoe's shoulder. You lost control the moment you made this public, Commander. I'm the one holding the cards now. Ava stepped forward, controlled, powerful. You're already exposed, she said evenly. The world's watching. Every second you stand here makes your sentence worse. For the briefest moment, Lewis faltered. His eyes flicked toward the shadows. Zoe winced as his grip tightened. Marcus fought to stay calm, reading her face, her courage, her pain. She was holding on, just like they had taught her. No threats, Lewis, Marcus said. Just a choice. Let her go, and you get a head start, or you lose everything. Right here. Right now. Suspicion crept into Lewis's expression. And why should I believe you? A glance from Marcus to Ava. She nodded. A silent signal. While Lewis stayed locked on Marcus, Ava's hand slid into her coat pocket, fingers wrapping around the small remote Marcus had given her earlier. She pressed it. No sound, no flash, but instantly, Lewis's radio died. His earpiece went silent. Around the lot, every device with a signal went dead. What did you do? Lewis barked, reaching for his belt. No one's coming, Marcus said. You're alone. Panic cracked through Lewis's mask. He pulled Zoe closer, backing toward his car. But Marcus had seen it coming. He moved. Swift, clean, precise. Years of training exploded into motion. He struck Lewis's wrist, disarming the grip. In the same fluid movement, he swept Zoe out of reach and into Ava's waiting arms. Lewis swung, wild and clumsy. Marcus countered, deflecting with ease. A strike to the center, a sweep to the legs, a final hold that brought Lewis face down to the pavement, arms pinned. Click. The sound of handcuffs. His own. Lewis groaned, fighting, then slumped. The fight drained from him. Ava clutched Zoe tightly. Their daughter was safe again. Marcus leaned in close to the man who tried to destroy them. All the evidence, every detail, every name, it's in hands you'll never reach. He paused. You never held the cards, Lewis. We did. Lewis closed his eyes, defeated. Sirens screamed in the distance. Lights painted the station red and blue. FBI vehicles swarmed the scene. From the lead car stepped Special Agent Sarah Chen, her badge glinting in the glow of the lights. Tactical teams fanned out behind her, securing the area. Commander Johnson, she called, voice strong. We received your transmission. It all checks out. Marcus stood, never moving far from Lewis. He nodded once. Took you long enough. No anger, just relief. Behind him, Ava held Zoe, whispering words of comfort into her ear. Words Zoe had waited all day to hear. Justice didn't just arrive. It made a statement. Ava held Zoe tightly as more federal agents moved in, weapons now lowered in a show of trust. The little girl's wide eyes followed as Officer Lewis was pulled to his feet, the restraints biting into his wrists. Nearby, Officer Daniels, caught trying to escape just minutes before, was already being led to a waiting van. We've been building a case for months, Agent Chen told the family as she approached. But your broadcast, your evidence, it was the final, undeniable piece. The time-stamped files, the altered reports, the voice recordings. It made this whole network collapse. Headlights lit up the night. News vans arrived first, then community members. Reporters stepped out, cameras already rolling, capturing every second as the corrupt system began to unravel in real time. And in the center of it all, the Johnson family, standing firm. Officer Lewis twisted in his restraints, spitting words at the flashing cameras. You can't do this. I have rights. Ava stepped forward, her voice calm but firm, sharp with purpose. Yes, the same rights you stripped from others. Now the system you twisted will finally hold you accountable. More vehicles pulled in. State officials, internal affairs, even a Department of Justice representative. What was once just a gas station became a hub of accountability. Law enforcement, media, and the people, all converging on a single truth. From the edge of the police perimeter, Benjamin emerged, nodding to Marcus before briefing federal agents on key figures in the corruption ring. His silent presence had watched over them from the start, and now helped finish what they began. Community leaders began to arrive. Some were strangers, others family. Ava spotted them first, familiar faces from a reunion cut short, people who had been searching, praying, hoping they were still alive. "Mom, look," Zoe said, holding up her phone. "We're everywhere." Her voice trembled with something like awe. Screens lit up across the scene, trending hashtags, video clips, comments, and global reactions. Their story was spreading like wildfire, not as victims, but as fighters, survivors, truth-tellers. A woman in a dark suit stepped forward, the DOJ representative. Her tone was direct but respectful. "Commander Johnson," she said, handing him a sealed envelope, "on behalf of the Bureau and the Department of Justice, we recognize the wrongs done to you and your family." Marcus opened the document. His military clearance reinstated. His name officially cleared. A formal apology, a commitment to federal hearings. "There will be a full congressional investigation," the woman added, "and we'll need your voice to help dismantle what's been hidden for too long." Behind the police line, voices began to rise. The community, once silent, now loud, demanding reform, demanding more. Lights swirled overhead as helicopters circled. Below, Agent Chen directed her team, coordinating arrests. Her voice cut through the noise. 3 judges, 2 captains, multiple officers already in custody, she said, and this goes deeper. Zoe tugged on her father's sleeve. "Can we go home now?" Marcus scooped her up into his arms. "Yes, baby, we can finally go home." The crowd erupted in applause. Cheers, tears, applause from strangers and neighbors alike. Pastors, civil rights leaders, and organizers stepped forward, not to be seen, but to stand with them, to form a wall of support around the family that took down a machine. A familiar voice called out, Reverend Jackson, a respected leader in the community. This family didn't just expose corruption, they exposed the truth and reminded this city what courage looks like. News reporters rushed in, asking for comment, but Ava stood firm. "Tonight isn't about headlines," she said clearly. "It's about accountability and the work that still lies ahead." As dawn approached, the FBI began clearing the site. Evidence cataloged, suspects transported, safety teams assigned to the Johnsons, all boxes checked, but none of it routine. A prayer circle formed around the family, hands held tight, voices rising with hope and healing. The flames of community weren't burning, they were building something new. And in the middle of it, Marcus held Ava and Zoe close. The first rays of sunlight pushed past the clouds, chasing away the artificial glare of gas station lights. It no longer felt like a crime scene. It felt like a beginning. Weeks later, the Georgia State Capitol stood silent until Marcus Johnson spoke. Sunlight streamed through towering windows as he testified before a room filled with lawmakers, citizens, and press. "This wasn't just about me," he said, voice steady. "This was about a system that targeted those who spoke up, especially veterans of color. They fabricated charges. They destroyed families. And for too long, no one stopped them." He didn't flinch. He didn't pause. He told the truth. And for the first time, everyone listened. A new chapter begins. In the courtroom gallery, Ava sat beside Zoe, both dressed with quiet dignity. 8-year-old Zoe, once terrified, now scribbled in her journal, absorbing every moment. She didn't just survive the storm, she was learning how to change it. Marcus took the stand again. "This wasn't isolated," he said. "It was a targeted pattern. 37 veterans, all black, all outspoken, all silenced." Behind him, Officer Lewis sat in an orange jumpsuit, the last of his defiance drained. His co-conspirator Daniels had already taken a deal. As federal agents presented doctored files, bribes, and secret communications, the room shifted. The scope was undeniable. This ran through police departments, judges, prosecutors, 3 states, years of damage. But Ava wasn't there to recount trauma. She came to change the law. We need body cams with secure uploads, independent oversight boards, and we must end protections that shield abusive officers from justice. The gallery broke into applause. Even lawmakers, once cautious, now listened. Outside, protesters chanted. Inside, evidence piled higher. Veterans, families, even honest officers testified. Zoe kept writing. She'd already decided she wanted to be a civil rights attorney. And when the verdict came, the room stood still. Officer Lewis, guilty on all counts, 30 years in federal prison. The reforms his case ignited moved fast. Ava became a national leader in justice reform. Marcus was tapped as a federal advisor. But for them, the greatest victory was quieter. Their new home sat just outside Atlanta. Peaceful, bright, safe. Every photo on the wall told a piece of their journey. Awards, smiles, Zoe's Young Leaders Medal. They cooked together, laughed, made plans that didn't include hiding. Zoe, now thriving, turned her journal into a book. Her teacher said it helped others understand how justice is personal, not just a concept, but something lived. Even Officer Lewis's daughter had reached out, joining advocacy work. Healing, Ava told Zoe, can start from unexpected places. As the sun set, they gathered for dinner. Jerk chicken, sweet potato pie, laughter, peace. And when Zoe asked if they could finally plan a real vacation, they all smiled. Yes, Marcus said. This time, we're not running. We're just living.